All right, let's talk about what you haven't been told about music production and why it could be causing you to feel overwhelmed, to never finish projects, and to not be hitting the quality that you know you can with your music. Depending where you're at on your musical journey and what universe you came into music production from, whether it's a DJ, whether you're a musician, maybe you're just getting started, chances are that you're either drastically over preparing or under preparing for things that lie ahead on your journey. And unfortunately, when most people experience failure, which is completely a choice, by the way, most people actually just give up. And yes, those failures, which are better said to be challenges, problems, roadblocks, are inevitable in music production. Hey yo, you know the drill. It's Alex from Metamind Music, and with this channel, it's my mission to help you, the artist, produce themselves by developing their mindset, expanding their creativity, and connecting to their music in a deeper way. And today we're talking about all the things about music production that you have not been told that could be holding you back. All right, number one is that your first attempts at making music will not be great. All right, so number one is that your first attempts at making music will not be great. So a huge mistake that producers make is they think that their next song is going to be a massive hit, is going to change their lives and make waves in the industry. And internally, we might be telling ourselves, I want to make this perfect. I'm going to keep working on this track until it sounds like the pros. I'm not going to finish this song until it sounds like what I'm hearing in my head. And one of the sneaky effects of this type of thinking is that it creates so much unnecessary expectation and pressure on yourself, which ironically is what keeps people from actually finishing music. So you have to accept this truth, is that none of the music that you make when you're just starting out is ever going to compete with the music of people who have outputted hundreds or thousands of tracks. If you keep banging your head against the metaphorical wall and are trying to make your next track the hit of the century, you're going to be missing out on the huge opportunity of finishing imperfect tracks. Without a doubt, the best way to get better at making music is to finish music. Okay, your music is your best teacher. It knows your strengths, it knows your weaknesses, and most importantly, it tells you what to focus on next. And that's something that you won't find in any tutorial online. So once you finish 10 to 20 tracks, you're going to start to find your production groove. And if you can push your perfectionism to the side and actually just call it done or good enough when you've hit the ceiling of your current skill level, I assure you that you'll increase your skills 10 times more than if you just focus on perfecting a single track. So there's this famous experiment that actually demonstrates what we're talking about super clearly, and where they had two different pottery classes that were both challenged with making the best vase that they can within a semester. And one class was focused on one single vase and trying to make that one vase as perfect and as awesome as they could. And the other class didn't focus on trying to perfect anything, and they just focused on making as many vases as possible. And can you guess what the end result was? Yes, the class who focused on quantity and just put in the reps and got more experience and more approaches and more challenges, problems, obstacles, and faced them and got better and better, obviously got the better vase at the end of the semester, versus the class that just focused on perfecting one vase for the whole semester. They lacked the experience. They didn't put in the reps because they were hyper focused on perfectionism. So number two is the power of flow state. So we've all experienced flow state in our lives. This is actually a peak state of consciousness and one of the most desirable experiences that we want to have as humans, and like top athletes, top performers of all kinds around the world all seek to get into flow state to perform at their highest level. Although no one can be in flow state at all times, you can drastically increase your chances with the right approach and process that actually stimulates you and encourages you to get into flow state. If you'd like to learn how to develop your own creative process that actually helps you get into flow state and shifts your thinking relative to all the different phases of the process, I've created a super easy to follow 7-step framework. You can grab it in the description below. So one thing to keep in mind with flow state is that if you're not placing yourself in situations that push you and challenge you to the maximum of your capabilities, you're not going to have the intensity of focus to really bring you to that flow state. So if you're constantly surrounded by distractions and you're trying to multitask and you're approaching the process in completely wrong way with the wrong approach, you're never going to get into flow state. When you're in flow state, the outside world starts to disappear and you get converged into the moment, and you know what that feels like. Great artists have taught themselves how to get into flow state more often than others. However, they know that you can't be in flow state all the time. You'll probably only be in flow state 20% of the time, and you will have to push forward for the other 80% regardless of how you feel. So all this to say is, don't wait for the right time. The right time is now, and the muses of inspiration, that flow state, tend to bless those who show up most often. All right, number 3 is what you think you need to know actually doesn't matter. And I like to call this the uncertainty principle. So many artists have this belief that they can't make amazing music with what they already know right now. And what this boils down to is subconscious, beneath the surface, fear. So whenever we catch ourselves falling in a rabbit hole of over preparing ourselves, so this is wasting hours and hours watching tutorials. This is learning more and more music theory and complex concepts. This is learning more mixing techniques, tips, and tricks. What we're actually doing is avoiding doing what we need to do, which is actually creating something. And we could call this getting caught in an information trap. So the problem with this is a huge amount of what you're learning actually won't be retained unless you put it into action. Humans learn by far the best and the quickest by taking action on information instead of just listening, reading, or watching. You see, our brains like certainty, and this certainty can fool the brain into feeling safe, into feeling like it's in control, because with its projections and anticipations, it can have some sort of calculation that it can rely upon to feel safe and in control. However, if you've been doing this for any amount of time, you know that the creative process is anything but certain. But this brain of ours will often trick ourselves into taking safe actions, watching tutorials, learning more information or theory, new tips, tricks, and techniques, instead of doing the uncertain thing of creating something and working on your music. So as a general guideline, I would suggest that you use about 80% of your time to focus on making music, finishing projects, actively creating something, and the other 20% of your time then learning information, new techniques, new ways of doing things, new perspectives. So you want to take your own skills right now as far as you can push them until you hit the ceiling. Then you can learn a few new things to develop those skills farther, and again, fall back into taking action. All right, number 4 is that gear, tools, plugins are by far the lowest on the hierarchy of importance. Gears, tools, new plugins, software, DAWs, musical instruments, hardware are fun, and it's great to be able to connect with other people on these amazing tools and share experiences and expand our thinking. However, be warned, no amount of gear or plugins or software or anything external will make great music for you. It's so easy to get caught up with this plugin, this compressor, this piece of hardware, and keeping up with the Joneses in the music world. No matter what you have right now, whether you have a whole home studio or you have a minimal setup, just focus on learning what you have inside and out to the best of your abilities, and you can get great results with any tool. All right, if you really flex and work out your creativity, you can make amazing music with very, very little. And at the end of the day, 99% of people do not care what you've used, what plugins you have, what DAW you use, what hardware you use. All they care about is how your music sounds and how it impacts them when they listen to it. All right, number 5 is that action is superior to knowledge. All right, they say that knowledge is power. However, knowledge is only potential power until it's put into action. I would go as far as to say that true knowledge only comes through experience. There's a massive difference between head knowledge and experiential knowledge. The only thing that's going to get you the results you want, so whether that's finishing more music, creating better quality music, or finishing better mixes, is by taking consistent action. If you can build a simple daily music making habit for 10-15 minutes, you will make so much more progress than just learning more information. This is something I wish I knew when I was starting out, and you will be blown away by how much progress you make just by taking small, consistent actions. So number 6 is the struggling artist myth. Making art does not have to be this dark, self-afflicted process. It can be this uplifting, spiritual, form of self-expression and tool for personal growth. You don't have to be depressed or addicted to drugs or live a certain lifestyle or be a broke musician or be an outcast to be an artist. Although it can be fun and useful to expand the mind and get out of your head once in a while, building a solid, healthy relationship with your music making practice has far more pros than cons. Number 7, you don't have to be a great musician. I'm a musician. I've been playing guitar for over 10 years. I played this crazy prog rock band. I play drums. I play bass. I love playing instruments, but it would be foolish of me to say that you need that to create great music. I've got a pretty open perspective of what being a musician actually means, and I think that if you can put sounds together and create something that moves you and other people at a deep level, you're a musician. And although I can't deny that it can be very useful to learn some basics and find your groove with a specific instrument, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. There's been countless legendary music artists who didn't know a lick of theory, didn't even play instruments, and even some DJs didn't even write music. And just because you know a ton of music theory or you can play an instrument really well does not mean you will write great music. Again, these are all tools, so if you're already proficient at something, great, use it. If you're not proficient at anything yet, great, create from a different perspective. You'll never discover your innate and unique capabilities until you embrace them. All right, number 8 is that everything is about relationships. So even music at a foundational level, even for your own spiritual growth, that's a relationship. The relationship of your notes and chords to each other, that's a relationship. The relationship of your fans and your listeners to your creation, that's a relationship. If we go one layer deeper, absolutely everything that you want to achieve with your music will happen through relationships, right? We can ask ourselves one simple question. Are all successful people musical savants or geniuses? No way. What they all have in common is great relationships with other people. So whether that's with other musicians, their fans, a team, a manager, a label, it's all about relationships. All right, so you have to accept and be okay with the fact that you have to promote yourself in an authentic way. Of course, if you want to hit your music goals. The world will never have the opportunity to experience and appreciate you as a person and the amazing music you will make if they don't know about you. Number 9 is it's all a matter of time. So if you're wondering if you can make it or not, if you got what it takes or not, if this is even possible or not, simply look to your mindset, your habits, and your beliefs over time. All right, the idea of talent as we think about it is largely a myth. Really just look at somebody's childhood, the amount they practice, and the environment that they've been in and that they are currently in. Although some of us learn things quicker than others and we all have our unique gifts, I don't buy into the idea that some people are just more innately talented than others. Everyone has talent. So all of the artists that you look up to are simply examples, roadmaps of what is possible for you as well. And in most cases with those successful artists, they have teams that have been working long and hard to make where they're at possible. The simple truth is, in fact, that it is just a matter of time. And the real reason why most people don't make it is simply because very few people persevere and remain consistent until they hit their goals. All right, number 10 is steal like an artist. So all art that you have ever seen has been inspired by other art. So whether it's poetry, music, painting, sculpture, all work has been influenced by previous works before them. Obviously don't plagiarize, but don't be scared to take musical concepts, a certain sound, a certain thing that fascinates you, and express it in your own way, in your own music. Picasso, John Lennon, and even Steve Jobs, who are all looked at as being creative innovators, have all famously quoted that they've blatantly borrowed ideas. Were the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Led Zeppelin innovators? Well, look at the bands that came before them, and it's up for question. So just let go of the fear and the pressure of being 100% original and realize that nothing's original or everything's original, depending how you look at it. And frankly, nothing that you're inspired by will be put together in the exact same way as the source that it came from. So if you resonated with some of these truth bombs and you want to develop a process that has a lot of these principles baked in, I've created a super easy to follow 7-step framework that helps you stay in flow state and ask the right questions and stay on track to finish your music and discover your influences and your own unique sound. So if you want to check that out, you can grab it in the description below. If you got value out of this video, smash the like button. If you want to stay in tune for the next Metamind Music transmission, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let me know. Do you agree or disagree with all of these statements that I've shared with you today? I'd love to know in the comments down below. And until the next time, I'll see you in the next video.